Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Tri-Deltas in the TV Room. I feel like we haven't been here in a while, ladies.
Mhm.
Great to see everybody. I am Mindy Tucker, and I am Tri-Delta's interim CEO. And if you haven't listened to this version of the podcast before, my co-hosts and colleagues join me here. Avery Sadler, who's soon to be Avery Hill, because she's getting married soon. Lexi Leggs and Meredith Davies. We all come together and we talk about literally anything and everything that's going on in the world. And it's great fun to catch up with them and share some of our thoughts with you. So thanks for joining us today. First, I know we're going to talk back to school a lot today because that's on my mind for a number of reasons and on Tri-Delta's mind for a number of reasons. But first, let's do a quick little introduction in case we have some new podcast listeners out there. Just a quick group introduction, your name, what school you went to. I think a few of you might have new titles, new jobs inside Tri-Delta. So let's share all the things real quick to introduce ourselves to our listeners. Avery, why don't you go first?
Okay. Hi guys. Good to see you all. I did just get to see Mindy and Meredith in the flesh, and so that was so fun. Lexi, maybe I'll see you soon because I'm going to the office next week. But my name is Avery Sadler. I went to Ole Miss. I graduated in 2021. And my current role is housing development manager. If you have listened before, you would know that I was doing events, and now I'm working on all of our housing campaigns, which I'm actually loving. It's so much fun. And yes, I feel like I have to say every time I'm getting married and I'm moving to Boston to grow closer to Sarah Ideshaw. So with that, I will pass it to Lexi.
Awesome. Thanks, Avery. Hi, everybody. I'm Lexi Leggs. I serve Tri-Delta as the program development specialist. So I work with a lot of our key programs like Body Image 3D, AAUW Start Smart, Behind Happy Faces, you name it. I help with that process. I am a member of the Delta Epsilon chapter at Millikin University, and I think I've covered all of my bases. No crazy exciting news for me just yet.
Don't forget your role as like a rock star MC whenever we like
Oh,
throw you on
yeah.
stage at an event.
I do that every once in a while. I do dabble.
And if you follow the podcast, she had the butterfly goal of being a keynote speaker, and she did that this summer too.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Thank you all for reminding me. See, this is why we need our sisters.
Come back to that in another episode for sure.
For sure.
Okay.
And I'm Meredith Davies. I serve Tri-Delta as development manager. I joined Tri-Delta in 2017 at Rhodes College, graduated in 2020, and have been here ever since.
Love it. As I already said, Mindy Tucker. I'm fortunate to be in this wonderful position as interim CEO of this amazing organization. I am a graduate of SMU within the chapter there in Dallas. I live in San Diego, and now my kids have just gone back to school. I have two boys, they're 13 and 16. So that is going to be heavy in our topics today. Which means I graduated way before the other three of these women here, which is why I love talking to them because we all have such different perspectives on all things Tri-Delta and in the world. So, all right, Lexi, I'm handing off to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So even though it's still 100 degrees here in Dallas, it's almost fall. Fall is ringing in. So I'm curious. I know fall is always about all things pumpkin. So what are y'all's thoughts on pumpkin food? Are we yay or nay? What do we think?
Okay, I actually have a tie-in on the back to school plus fall because when I was growing up and we would come home from school, my mom would make us pumpkin muffins, and I'm not joking, I probably had them every day in the fall whenever I came home from school. And I love them so much. I remember when I was in college, she actually sent me as a little gift box one year, the pumpkin muffin mix, muffin tray, and maybe that was, and like some cute little kitchen towels for the fall. But I love pumpkin things. Love the pumpkin loaf from Starbucks.
Okay.
I don't know about the pumpkin drinks though. That's hard for me.
That was going to be the next half of the question. So we can add that into drinks and food. So it sounds like you're more for the food, less for the drinks.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Those muffins sound good though.
I do it myself. I love the pumpkin, love everything about it. Do not like going to Starbucks. I can't justify. If I have a gift card, I will go. Otherwise, I have an espresso machine. I need to do that. So I did go to Starbucks yesterday, get my one, actually have a really good pumpkin order. If you like a shaken espresso, you get a grande shaken espresso with 2 pumps of pumpkin sauce, almond milk, and cinnamon on top with blonde espresso, and it's the best fall drink. And I'm surprised they haven't stolen it from me yet. I just keep thinking that one year they're gonna finally see that this is like the best thing ever. But so I get it once and I try it and I remember what it tastes like, and then I make the sauce at home and I keep it in my fridge and use it until it runs out and give it to my friends. And I like to bake.
You're gonna have to write it down. First of all,
Yeah.
this is now the Meredith. And you're gonna have to write it down so that we can all go try it, because I did not understand any of what you said about that order, because I don't do coffee. I'm not a coffee person, so I don't, but that sounds amazing.
It is good. It is good. And I am like in my my homemade era. I see so many women on TikTok who will take things you buy at the grocery store and make it themselves. And now there's a zillion things called the Meredith, because there's Meredith bar, there's Meredith chicken, now there's Meredith coffee drink. I mean, I don't know how I can keep up with all these things.
That's a whole nother like rabbit hole to go down later.
Oh yeah.
Googling the Meredith. I love pumpkin, love, love, love. I love fall. I love Christmas. I love the spices. I love all of that. I started eating healthy last October. I can't eat. I'm gonna have to find something. I'm gonna have to figure out some way to not eat flour and eat something pumpkin flavored this fall, because I do love it so much. The Meredith
I can do that.
The Meredith
I can do that for you 100%.
All right.
I'll find something.
Yeah. So love it. Love, love, love it.
I think I'm not as big of a pumpkin fan as I used to be, like back in high school and things like that. Once I got my first car, I had to pull up to school with car keys in one hand and my pumpkin spice latte. But now I think people understand that I can drive. It's been almost a decade. So I think for the food, I definitely am a pumpkin pie gal if I had to choose anything. But same here. I'm not as big on the drinks as I used to be. So maybe they'll bring me back. That's shaken espresso. The Meredith sounds great, though. I'm going to have to try that one for sure.
I feel like they come out so early, like you're saying, like it's 100 degrees in Dallas. It's summertime here through October. So it's weird to see the advertisement before really November, but they sure do bring them out early. Be here before we know it. All right, back to school, ladies.
Yes.
This topic could last all day, I feel like. My boys went back this week, so I feel like things are back to normal in the house now. I also got to go to my first recruitment that I had been to in a very long time. I'm thinking it may be like 6 or so years since I've been at like a bid day or a recruitment or something. And I went to OU. My niece was going through recruitment. And it was so interesting to see it from this perspective. First of all, learned a lot. Also, it was a reminder of the women that we welcome in and the age we welcome them in at, seeing it through an 18-year-old's eyes was also really interesting. The questions she was asking me, the things she was bringing up. But it was fun. I went for the day. I got to tour 3 houses. So I went to the Tri-Delta house, of course, and I met our lovely house director there, and she gave me a full tour of the house, which was great. And I met some of the women. They were getting ready for bid day. My Tri-Delta best friend, her niece or her daughter is the VP ME, as we call it, the head of recruitment at Delta Gamma. So reminder, like legacies have really changed over the years. And I feel like all of my Tri-Delta friends' daughters are something else. And all of my non-Tri-Delta friends, their daughters are Tri-Deltas. So here was a great example of that. I go over to the Delta Gamma house, and my Tri-Delta best friend's daughter tours me through the Delta Gamma house. And then I spent the end of the day at actual bid day where my niece ran to her house, which is she's an Alpha Chi Omega now. So you just don't ever know how things are going to turn out, but it was really fun to share the Panhellenicness of the whole thing, across all these organizations, knowing wherever they ended up, they were going to have a great experience. The sorority experience is amazing. Obviously, I'm partial to Tri-Delta. I think we offer an amazing experience, but I also know other organizations are doing great things for women. So it was fun to just see some of that, see different houses and be a part of that. I also learned that my best friend's daughter tells the story in the video of recruitment of her mom and her best friend, me, who she calls her aunt, and how that's how she knew sorority friendship could be so special. So she's telling a Tri-Delta story at the Delta Gamma house as part of recruitment in their video. So that was fun anyway, but it was a whole experience. And I probably walked away with a whole lot more questions than answers on a lot of things. Recruitment's so complicated these days. So, and it's changed so much since I went through. You all are much closer to your experience, but it was fun. Anyway, recruitment, bid day, all the balloons, all the excitement, running to the house. I remember running to the house and being so excited to meet my new sisters. And so it brought back all the warm, fuzzy Tri Delta memories for me. So.
Oh.
I love it.
I have an off-topic question. Well, on topic, off topic. How far was your run? Because I remember like my run was not that far, but there were people who like Tri Delta compared to the Grove, pretty close. The Grove to Cayo is like 2 streets away on the opposite side of campus. And those people, you would see their pictures, they're like faces red, so sweaty because it just took them probably 10 minutes to run all the way to their house. I don't know if y'all had similar experiences. We just had like a big campus, but did you have a far run?
Mine wasn't far, but at Rhodes we recruit in the winter, beginning of January, and every about 4 years there's a freak snowstorm, and it's Memphis, so everything melts during the day and then freezes at night. Recruitment terrible, ice everywhere, snow. I don't know if anyone knows this, but apparently cat litter melts ice. Everyone was buying boxes of cat litter. It was all over everything. It was so gross. Bid day, the coldest day. And at Rhodes, we go crazy. People really don't like the Tri Deltas on bid day because we run around campus and we chant like in the morning, like 7 a.m. We're out, we're running around, we're getting really excited for bid day. And over the course of that day and the run home, they told everyone they had to walk back to the houses. People didn't listen. Wipeouts everywhere, concussions, bruised ribs. It was terrible, but it's probably the thing that sticks out the most to me of 4 years of bid days was everybody wiping out.
Oh my
That's
God.
terrible. Did you run, Lexi? Some schools don't run. So.
Yeah, no, I would say, so I was a COB, so I didn't necessarily join that traditional way, so I didn't run regardless, but I will say that on bid day, typically all of our campus is a lot smaller, so even if they were running, it wasn't that far of a distance, but it typically was like you left from the quad and they would walk, but once the house was in sight, then they would run. So everybody was running maybe like half a block, but nothing too crazy. Definitely no cat litter or wipeouts.
Yeah, we're deferred too. So it wasn't, I'm Dallas, if the weather was never that bad. But I remember I was talking, they were also hot, Oklahoma, August, it was hot. I only had to run about 3 blocks, I think. And we had our white turtlenecks on because we went to the house to get our blue jerseys. And everybody wore their white turtleneck to the room to find out where they were going. And then you go put your jersey on at the house, but not far. And it was deferred recruitment, which has changed this year. This is the first year SMU's doing fall recruitment. So we'll see how hard the run is in the 100 degrees. Changed a little bit. So
Some of the chapters, the one that I noticed was Texas A&M. They did a dusk bid day, and I was like, oh, I wonder why they did that, and then immediately realized that it's because it's 100 degrees.
Yeah. So the women are back. What life hacks for campus? What self-care ideas? Like, I feel like it's first of all, if they're freshmen, it's a big transition, but also coming off summer, what great ideas do you guys have about back to school and on campus and keeping everything managed and juggling classes and all the things?
I think the first thing is just like planners. I'm a big planner girl, and I feel like a lot of us are. But finding what kind works for you. Some people like the ones that have nothing and it's just a complete blank journal and they can doodle and they can create artwork inside of it, and that allows them to express creativity while also keeping track of their schedule. That would stress me out because the thought of having to create designs for every month seems like a lot. But once you find the planner that works for you or the style that works for you, I've recently switched to using my phone and found that actually helps a lot rather than just relying on a physical planner. It took a while to adjust to, but I think that's the biggest thing is just like knowing what you have to do, right? I do miss my physical planner every once in a while, but now that I'm not a teacher, I don't really have to use it as much. But I think once you know how to keep track of your schedule, that'll definitely help with the burnout. You can plan ahead, not let yourself get so distressed around midterms and final seasons, things like that. When you can look ahead, I feel like that really helps in college.
I also switched from a physical planner to using my phone this year. I was in spaces where I didn't have my planner, and now I just have a couple different calendars all on my phone. But my so I did a lot in school. I had two majors, played a varsity sport, was a Tri Delta member, an officer, had a job. I did a lot. And there were two things that I was really serious about. One was sleep. I always got 8 hours of sleep because then the hours that I spent awake, I wasn't thinking about being tired and I could actually focus on the things I needed to get done. And then every day, at some point during the day, I take an hour to do something fun, like watch a TV show, call my mom and walk around campus, do something that wasn't a part of one of my many, many activities and kept me sane for the most part.
My helpful tip, which I'm not quite sure when this episode is airing, so it might not be helpful once people hear it, but is walk your schedule before the semester starts. I guess this could apply to anyone at any time during your college years, but walking my schedule, I actually remember I walked my schedule with 2 Tri Deltas before recruitment. I don't know if that was illegal at the time, but they were being sweet, and they were like really helpful, just showing, okay, like this is where you're gonna have this class at this time, and then you're gonna go from here to there, and this is the best way to get there. Once again, almost as small, but it's a larger campus, and you're like, oh, I don't know where I'm going and what time and everything. So that was really helpful for me. Obviously, once you start getting the hang of where things are, you don't need to do that every time. But I think it was nice knowing, like, okay, this is going to take me more time. And on this day, maybe I need to make sure I'm wearing comfier clothes because it's a hike and I'm going to get sweaty, and all that. So that definitely, I would say that is my like helpful freshman year tip or just college tip. But
Works
another
anytime though. That works anytime because you'll
Yes.
get a new schedule in January again.
Yeah, so true.
I like that tip. I have recently stopped using my phone before bed and I am sleeping so much better. So this is my new tip I'm sharing with everybody is I put it down. I read a book. It takes about 0.5 seconds for me to fall asleep because I start reading and I'm not on my phone stimulated. So I start reading and I relax and I fall asleep. And I sleep through the night now. Whereas when I was on the phone before bed, I was not. I was waking up. I was having a harder time going to sleep. It's crazy how much of a difference it's made.
The blue light can really impact the sleep, so I definitely understand that one.
Yeah, I just didn't have any concept of how much it was really impacting. So now I'm telling my kids, I'm telling all the people, this is what you should do. Get off your phone. I'm one of those people now. Do y'all have any funny roommate stories?
Mm.
I probably have too many.
My niece was getting roommates that she didn't know. So it was a big conversation. And I was like, be open. You never know, you're going to make new friends. It's all good. But I also realized how, I can't really say that because that's not what I did. I went to school with my best friend from high school and we were roommates our freshman year. We pledged Tri Delta together. So I had sort of the easy roommate situation, but I know not everybody did.
I had the best roommates on the planet. I love them so much. All 3 of them are in my wedding coming up. One of them though, we both went into living together being like, we don't like each other. We don't know how this is gonna go. We really weren't that close. It was kind of like she was the last, I'm gonna throw her, this is not on me. She was like our last minute addition to our house. And so it's kind of like, oh, we don't know how we're gonna get along. And she's now one of my best friends and she's in my wedding. But I love the South. I'm giving no hate to the South, SEC, Mississippi. I love it all so much. But some of these girls would do designer college apartments, bring it all, like it's the whole Southern living. And we just were not like that at all. In our house, we framed puzzles that we would make and Mod Podge them. And that was our decor all over our house. It was awesome. I loved it.
These rooms are off the hook. They're like, whew.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I don't think I can top that one. my freshman year roommate was also kind of a random selection situation. And I'm a very like sensitive sleeper, so the slightest noise will wake me up. I'm a one alarm type of gal. I hear it, I wake up. For some reason, her alarm had to go off at 5 o'clock in the morning. Not entirely sure why that was the set time, but the first night of us sleeping in our dorm, her alarm went off at 5 a.m. with like a metal rock like scream song. And that was like the first morning in my dorm. So that experience was that we made it through the entire semester, but then we ended up having like our own rooms the second semester of freshman year, just because somebody had moved out on our floor. So it worked out. But that was probably the most interesting. Otherwise, I lived in the Tri Delta house like all 3 years after that. That was back when live-in requirements were big for chapters, and I really wanted to be an officer, and most of the officer roles that I wanted and had to live into the house. So I spent a lot of time with my Tri Delta crew, my closest friend group in the chapter, and we were roommates. And I think just like the most memorable things is the ways that we would motivate ourselves through schoolwork. So we might go and do like study tables, and then our reward would be Taco Bell, or we really liked I forget what they're called, like Polar Pops. And we'd go get a Polar Pop, and like that would be like our mem. So just the ways that we would encourage each other and still like check in on each other is probably the most memorable.
I love that.
Mhm.
Memories of the house. We should do a whole episode on memories of living in the house. So
Oh, we should.
that's coming. We'll do that soon.
Love that.
All right. Any other back to school or fall topics for us before we move into some hot topics from each of us?
Not here.
Okay. My hot topic today is a little bit back to school, but I think will generate a lot of other discussion. So we got a note from the school a couple weeks ago saying there's going to be a new cell phone policy that our children would check their phone in the morning and not have access to their phone all day, and they would check it out at the end of the day. And I understand that the goal here is to have them focus on school while they're in school and not be on their phones. I do know they do that. They're teenagers. That's what they do. However, well, some logistical issues that have come with this. So they check their phone in the morning, and lunchtime comes and they couldn't buy lunch. Like they can go off campus for lunch in the neighborhood, and they had no way to buy lunch because they buy lunch on their Apple Pay on their phone. They also did not know what time to be back because they keep track of time on their phone. So Monday or whatever day it was this week when we went back to school, I had 3 boys show up. They couldn't eat. They couldn't go get lunch because they didn't have their phones. So I made everybody quesadillas and sent them back to school. And I emailed the principal and said, what are, like, is there a way they could just check it out at lunch and get it back and then put it back, she said, absolutely not. Buy your child a watch. Give them cash in the morning and buy them a watch. And I was like, oh, so their policy, while I agree with it, I don't disagree with it, has totally like upended. Now I've got a whole new system I have to build at home around them. I don't carry cash at all. I never have cash. So anyway, it's been a whole thing. And a bunch of the kids are using old phones and checking them in the morning and just keeping their real phone to get around it. So I don't know.
Do they get in trouble if they see them with their phone? Like that seems like it would be hard.
I don't know. And we go to a social and emotional school. It's a charter school, so nobody ever really gets in trouble for anything at our school. But I assume they would have a conversation with them, constructive conversation around that choice if they found you doing that. But I don't know. Anyway,
Here's my thing. We take the phones away, and then they go to college, and then because they didn't have their phone at all in high school, they're gonna be even more glued to it. I think that it's important for kids to learn how to have their phones around and not be distracted by it and come up with like skills and tactics to not go on their phone during school and still have it. Like, I don't know, we all had our phones in school, but then it was like the fear of God was instilled in you in school. If you took your phone out, like there was trouble coming. You wouldn't do it. If you had to look at it, it was in your backpack and you were hiding. So I don't know. I mean, obviously I know what's changed, but I think it's kind of crazy. And those the locked little things that they are putting phones in some school districts. What is this? Like a secret concert? Like it's so funny to me, but I mean, I guess they do just make TikToks all day long, and I don't know.
I don't know.
I definitely agree with them needing to understand there's a time and a place for everything and how to navigate that, because even in the workspace, like I don't have to turn my phone in when I go into the office. Like I know how to excuse myself when to bring it out and things like that. And for those of you listening, I used to be a high school teacher too, so this is not something that I've not dealt with. Like cell phones in the classroom were definitely an issue. We did not have rules as strict as your boys' school did, Mindy. But I just remember in my classroom, like I would just address it at the beginning of the school year. Just ask me if you need to use it for a second and you can use it. Otherwise, keep it aside and stay focused on the class. I never had any issues with cell phones in my class. Now, granted, I taught choir, so we were singing a lot. There were very rarely times for them to be so down that they could be on their phones. But still, I agree. We've got to start teaching them that discipline and how to have that distraction there, but not let it control you, because that is a big concern when they go to college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
You
to
can
have
just show the
like,
principal this podcast and see if she
Right.
changes her mind.
I talked to a teacher today on my podcast, and here's what she said. So I'm gonna.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely.
Thanks for commiserating with me. I will adjust. These are not huge problems in life that I have to find cash and figure out a watch. But anyway, we will make it through. We will persevere. So
Yeah, I'll have a good time. Well,
all right.
speaking of school and teachers, I'm just curious, since we are all talking about back to school, who is your most memorable teacher and why? I'll go first since I'm kind of just throwing this on the spot. I've got a couple of them. So both of them are in high school. One was my econ teacher, my senior year of high school. And I just loved him because he literally taught us how to adult. Like I learned a lot about taxes and how to write a check, even though we don't use paper checks and things like that. But the way that he would teach us was always very funny. And he would teach us life lessons through movies like Good Burger. But I learned a lot from that class and things that I use as an adult, and how to stay financially stable for the most part. I learned from him. And then I also had my English teacher senior year was Mrs. Collins. And she was just really passionate about what she did. You could tell that she picked literature that she was passionate about and was able to teach us the concepts through that lit. But her class just always felt like a warm, welcoming space. And she was just so not lax in the place where you felt like you could push over her, but lax in the place where you just felt safe in the classroom. You felt like you could make a mistake and it wouldn't be detrimental towards your grade or your career path, so to speak, in post high school. So those would be my favorites.
I had a government teacher in high school named Mrs. Murad, who I loved. And I think, she took us on the DC trip. I went on to have a career after college in government and politics. So I know so much of it came from part of that introduction younger in life. She was fun and she made it interesting. And so I remember her. I also remember my negotiations teacher from college who I loved, Robin Pinkley at SMU, because she had this great way of like giving us a lesson through a real world example that was powerful. Like one day we all made a choice. We all did a case study and made a choice where we ended up blowing up the space shuttle. We didn't know that from the beginning. It was kind of a blind case study. And but it was such a great, like, I still remember it to this day, that learning experience of the organizational culture that got to the point where they made that particular decision and why we would have made that decision and the ramifications of it. And so I remember her a lot, just from bringing like all the great real world lessons to us and I still remember her class and principles of negotiation because she's just such a great teacher.
I went to what I think is the greatest high school in the entire world. The Pennington School in Pennington, New Jersey. If there are any parents of sixth graders or fifth graders or eighth graders looking for a private high school in that area, I really recommend the Pennington School. And I had the most incredible teachers, and I wasn't quick to answer this because there were so many. I was a big history person in high school, studied political science in college, but I got really, in middle school, I got a little sidetracked, did very poorly in eighth grade history. They wouldn't put me in honors history freshman year. Figured it out, got into the honors American history class in 10th grade with Mr. Harding. Mr. Harding was like an experiential teacher. There was one time we were learning about World War I. And we went to the gym and he turned off all the lights and we all wore our backpacks and we had giant sticks and we were learning about like trench warfare, and we had to crawl across and try to climb up onto the stage. There was one day he took all of our phones overnight. So back to the phones, took them overnight, locked them up, and we had to document what it was like to not have your phone. Like really, really good. And that prepared me for AP US history, which he was probably even better than Mr. Harding, Mr. DiGiacomo. He really just taught American history in such a powerful way. And he always told me that he felt like I could make it in politics. And I still think back, I'm like, oh, could I run for office? Mr. DiGiacomo thinks that I could run for office. And then I had a science teacher my junior year, and after years of being the English and history person, I fell in love with marine biology, and she saw that in me, and we were the best of friends in this elective science class with all of the senior boys who didn't care about science anymore, and we had the best time. So many teachers.
Wow. That sounds so fun. My first one, I still love her, but my stories are not like yours. The only reason she came to my mind is because she would do headstands in our class. Fourth grade, Miss Clarissimo. Also, it was like a goal to figure out how to spell her name. Clarrissimieux, I think is how it's spelled.
Larissimo and DiGiacomo. These are
Those are hard.
Okay.
She was only memorable because of the headstands, and also she did accuse me of cheating one time, and I was not cheating, and I was crying so hard and went to my switch teacher's class. I don't know if y'all had switch teachers, but I went to her class, and I was like so upset because I knew that I did nothing wrong, but she was so convinced that I was cheating. And I know I can literally recall the situation perfectly. Like I remember it. And I had to be comforted by that other teacher, Mrs. Cobb. Love her. I mean, I love Miss Clarissimo too. Still, she wasn't a bad teacher by any means. She was just like, she was harsh, like when you're getting your
still,
teachers.
Avery's still looking to clear her name here.
No, like, guys, I swear it wasn't me. On a spelling test. Yes.
Oh man.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
All right. Who's got the next topic?
I don't have a good hot topic. I was gonna ask about back to school shopping and your thoughts on that, but I can't even remember my back to school shopping. I know that my mom would take us shopping. I think I'm thinking about this because I was talking about shopping with my fiance as we are going on our honeymoon soon. So we need all these beach clothes. And my mom still to this day is my personal shopper. Like I came home last night and she goes, "Oh, I picked you up this set for your honeymoon." And so I feel like that was an impactful thing for me growing up because she would, and I don't like shopping. And I think I don't like shopping because I never had to because she would just bring everything for me. It's so not a hot topic, but it's what's on my mind going back to school and in my personal life currently. So I don't know if y'all have any like memorable first day outfits or.
I always had an outfit.
Oh yeah.
And I have boys who don't, but this year for the first time they wanted to like have decent clothes. Like I'm pretty sure this was the first day of school. They have not both gone to school in sweats and a hat. Both of them had jeans on that they had picked out and a shirt that was new and shoes that were new. It was a big day around here, but I always had Dallas girl always had a new outfit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, did you guys go to who went to private high schools? Meredith,
did.
Did you? But did y'all both have uniforms?
No.
I did.
Okay.
Oh.
But I was only there my last 2 years of high school.
Oh, okay.
Lots of public school time to sport the great outfits.
Obviously.
Pennington had a very strict dress code, but it was easy, like that made it easy to follow. So you like always had to have a collared shirt on, and girls could wear skirts, and we could wear pretty like normal length skirts. No one was yelling at us for skirts being too short, and we could wear like pants. You couldn't wear denim ever. And then seniors could wear shorts in September and May, and that was it. So there was no back to school shopping because there was shopping that was done when I started high school. And my mom, there's this thing that just plays over and over in my head. Every time I go into my closet and think I have nothing to wear, I can hear my mom saying to me, Meredith, you have a closet full of clothes. Because I did. That's always what she said to me. We never went back to school shopping. But I always had an outfit, and I became a very, very preppy girl in high school. That was in the age of the infinity scarf. So people got around wearing the collar, wearing an infinity scarf. I'll never wear one again.
Oh man, the infinity scarf time was wild. I learned how to arm knit. This is kind of off topic, but I learned how to arm knit when I was in college. So instead of actual knitting needles, you use your arms. And the amount of infinity scarves that I knitted in high school was insane. I don't know where they are, but I want to make a blanket one of these days.
It's going to be a new workshop at convention or VLC or something. Lexi leads arm knitting.
I'm telling you, I'm very big into it. I like to knit and crochet. My grandma taught me when I was little. So let me know. I am happy to jump in. I don't know how many people are going to be there knitting with me, but we'll see. It's kind of fast too. Like I used to make the scarves in like 15 to 20 minutes. Like it's really easy. Yeah. So we got to try that. It's really fun. So I've missed the infinity scarf life for sure.
High school.
Okay. My mom, I think, definitely instilled a shopping habit in me because we always did back to school shopping. I think in elementary school, I was big on the supplies. You know, everybody talks about that big pack of crayons with the sharpener in the back, you know, like that was what I was really happy about. Like I'd say like first through like eighth, like maybe first like sixth grade. But then the outfits for me, it was just like I was big on having new shoes and then something that matched whatever interest that I had. So there was a time where I was in love with Nicki Minaj in high school. And so she liked Harajuku dolls and things like that. And so I tried to mimic that style with like my hair and my outfit. Looking back on it, you wouldn't be able to guess that at all. But in retrospect, I look at those birthday school pictures and I'm like, but that was who my role model was at that time. So definitely just whatever we had from back to school shopping that was like my favorite, that's what I would pick unless it just went with my just my interest at the time. So even now as an adult, I feel like this time of year I always feel like I need to go shopping just to buy like a couple things, but I'm like, where am I going now? Nowhere. So who knows?
This is how Avery got me on Newly. Just send them all back at the end of the month and pick 6 more things, which is a bad habit too, but just
that is. But if Newly wants to sponsor this podcast, Newly, if you hear this, that would be awesome. Give us all a discount code.
Newly is. Now I got to go look up something else, y'all. Newly. Is it like a Stitch Fix or something kind of?
Yeah.
Similar.
All right.
But Anthropologie brands. It's so cute.
Stuff that I've purchased a lot of things off my Newly, which is way less economical. And honestly, when you really do the math, it doesn't make the most sense. But it's nice when you need something and you don't want to buy it. And you're like, oh, I'm getting 6 things for $100. Whereas if I just went to Anthropologie, I would get half a thing for $100. So
certainly. It's girl math. It makes sense.
Yeah. They know what they're doing.
Right, that is girl math.
They might have invented it. Okay, my last thing, taking us back in time a couple weeks because I'm still living in the summertime. Because in New Jersey, it's still summer until like September, and that's where my mind is always going to be. We have to talk about the Olympics because we didn't talk about it. I want to know everyone's favorite moment from the Olympics. And I can't go first because I have so many that I don't even have an answer prepared.
There were so many. So many. Go, Avery. You go.
Okay. Opening ceremony was so cool as a TV spectator. We actually just talked to Diane Peterson, who is on our foundation board. She was in Paris during the opening ceremony, which is so cool. And I'm sure that was great, but I honestly feel like it probably was cooler watching it from the TV because you got to see how they integrated like the live performances with these pre-recorded things and all of the cool places in Paris and like animated all of the art in the Louvre, like it was just I think the production of that, Celine Dion, like the whole thing was just a masterpiece in my opinion. Like I thought it was so impressive. The whole band at the beginning with like the boat thing going by, it was incredible in my opinion. So I loved, and I would say that opening ceremony kept me more engaged in the rest of the Olympics.
Oh, interesting.
Yes,
Wow.
I would say that. They could do a study on that.
They should.
I am not really an Olympics person. There's always something that gets me in and I'll watch a little bit. Love the Simone Biles comeback.
Mm.
Hands down, so good. Really got into track, I think because since the last Olympics, I did my whole track thing, and that's a whole side story about my hamstring. But I understood it so much more that I watched, and I was so impressed with that guy who ran the was it the relay with COVID and then fell down
Noah
and
Lyles.
like so great. I love those kinds of stories, like the story behind the story. And I got really into the track team. Those women are beautiful. Like they were just such strong athletes. And anyway, I was all about the track this year for some reason. But I'm not really, after that, I was like, oh, is it still going on? I don't know. I see Snoop Dogg on Instagram, but otherwise I don't even know if it's going on.
Honestly, I think Snoop Dogg might have been my favorite part of the Olympics because he just looked like he was having a blast every time a camera was on him. When he was at the equestrian events, just having a great time, but I love him. I think also, Mindy, I really like this, the track events. I think that's what keeps me interested in watching. I don't know if you all know, but Netflix released Sprint, a documentary on the world championships. And so a lot of this year's Olympic athletes were featured in that. So it was really cool to watch that. And of course, they released it like the last 2 weeks of June. So we watched it and then the Olympics start. So you really get to see what people went through on their off years when they're not going through the Olympics. So I have like an even heightened appreciation for those track events. But my favorite one by far was the women's 4x4. That's the baton handoffs.
Yep.
Scared me. They were not the best, and the second to last one was rough, but those women blew through it and still knocked the competition out of the water. I felt so patriotic and so proud of our women. They showed up, and like to your point, Mindy, very beautiful, also extremely intelligent, like Gabby Thomas graduating from Harvard, like
Yeah, one of
rock
them's
star.
like I've got to go to medical school now. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. All right.
Like, oh, okay, that's fine. And then you're going to go to the Olympics. So Texas was really representing very well at the Olympics and representing the US. So very big sprint and track fan here.
So fun.
I just love all the female athletes. Not that I don't also love the male athletes, but I mean, the majority of the gold medals the United States won were won by women, and there's so much power. I mean, yeah, like Sydney McLaughlin, Lavroni, Tara Davis Woodall, all my swimmers, Reagan Smith, like Gretchen Walsh, Tori Husk, they all just, and obviously Simone, but also justice for Jordan Childs. My goodness, someone give her that medal back. Yeah, I love all of women's sports and just, growing up in sports my whole life. I loved the Olympics from the very beginning. I remember the 2008 Olympics watching Michael Phelps go 8 for 8 and Rebecca Soni, who she's won Olympics. She's from my hometown, and I'll never forget that. And thinking like, if she can do this, I can, stay in my sport until the end. And it's my favorite thing. Yes, I feel most patriotic watching the Olympics. Even as someone who studied American politics in college, I feel most patriotic watching our athletes win.
It was so great. So great. All right, y'all. That was a lot. I feel like we covered a lot today. But you're the best. I love the fun and the great stories that each of you bring. We'll do it again soon. Thanks for coming. Thanks for joining us. If you're listening, I hope this was a fun episode for you to listen in on. As the school year starts here, I want to remind all of our alumni out there that it's a great time to volunteer for Tri Delta. So many of our chapters need dedicated volunteers, and you don't have to live in the same city as the chapter. For some roles, it's important, but for others, you can do it remote. So if you have thought about using your gifts to support a chapter, I highly encourage you to jump in and do that. You can go to tridelta.org/volunteers, find some information, and we would be happy to get you plugged in. So thanks for that. I hope you will like, subscribe, and rate our podcast. We have 3 stars in our crescent, but we love, love, love those 5-star ratings. So bring them on. I think that's it. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, Delta love, everybody.